Hey everybody, two constructions today. The first one is how to construct a line through this point so that it's perpendicular to this line. So we want to get a line through this point coming down, making a right angle with that line. And I always find it kind of helpful to sort of rotate the paper so the line is horizontal and the point is above it, and it's kind of easier to picture approximately what we want is going to be a line like that, so it's making right angles. So I'm going to do this fairly quickly because you have a rewind button. Needle goes on the point, and you have to open up the compass any size big enough that allows you to swing the compass and hit the line twice. So 1, 2. So you want to make 2 arcs with the needle on that point. And now that gives me these 2 points where the arcs intersect the line. And just like when we're constructing perpendicular bisectors of a segment, I'm going to think of from here to here as a segment, and I want to make a perpendicular bisector. So I go more than halfway across, like we talked about in the previous lesson. I make an arc below and an arc above. That arc above is actually optional in this case because this point is going to be our other defining point. And then I flip the compass around and I make an arc below and an arc above. And if I connect this intersection point to that one, it'll also go right through the point I started with. So really, those arcs aren't even necessary. From this point to that point is going to be my perpendicular line. So remember, we always put the pencil or pen down first and then line the ruler up against it. So here is my line, red line perpendicular to the black line, and I mark it with a right angle to show it's perpendicular. A quick thing about what's going on there and why it works. So this is the final answer. I'm going to leave that there. I did it earlier, and I want to show you how we know that's actually a right angle there. And I'm just going to kind of do this real fast. But remember, we started with the needle on that point, and we made 2 arcs. So that means that this segment and this segment are going to be congruent because they were both made with the compass at a fixed setting. So I know those are congruent. And similarly, when I had the needle here and I made this arc, and then I put the needle over here and made that other arc, that tells me that with the needle here reaching to this point, and really any point on that arc is going to be the same distance as having the needle here reaching to any point on this arc. So in other words, we know that these are congruent as well. So going back to our previous unit on congruent triangles, side, side, side of this triangle, congruent to side, side, side of that one. These triangles are identical. Therefore, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, so I know that this angle is congruent to that one. And now if I look at these little triangles, I know that they share a side here. I can mark congruent to itself, reflexive property. Side angle side on the little triangle matching side angle side, so these little triangles are congruent, which means all of the corresponding angles of the little triangle are congruent to the angles of this little triangle, and the ones we're interested in are these two. These 2 angles have to be congruent because those triangles are congruent. And since they form a linear pair totaling 180, they must be 90 each. So that's really what's going on. That's how we know that that's a right angle. We have these hidden congruent triangles. So that's the first construction. And again, you probably have to go back and watch how I did it again before you start the homework. And then the other construction is, how do you make a line perpendicular to this line passing through a point that is on the line? So in the previous one, the point we wanted to include was off the line, and this one it's on the line. I want to make a perpendicular segment. So again, I rotate to make the line horizontal. I just do that out of habit. I'm going to start with the needle on that point and open up the compass any size you want, and we make an arc on each side of that point. And using these 2 points as endpoints of a segment, and that's the midpoint of that segment. All I need to do now is make a perpendicular bisector of this segment. And again, that goes back to the previous construction we learned in the last class. But if I make a perpendicular bisector of this segment, it will go through that point because that point is the midpoint between these 2 points. So how do we do a perpendicular bisector? The needle goes on one end. We open up the compass more than halfway across. Above, below, flip. Needle on this other intersection point. Above, below, and connect. If I connect this point to that point, I will have a line through point A perpendicular to the given line. So that really is a right angle, and that's our second one for today. So you'll have to go back and probably watch them again before you begin, but those are the 2 for today. Perpendicular through a point on the line, perpendicular through a point off the line. Have fun!